We're good, huh?
It's like that ham is on gear 1. Can you eat?
It's all good. Don't worry. There's like a fish there. DNG ready?
Yeah, niko ready, bro.
You're sure, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, so watch I do the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another session of The Playhouse. Shock on you. Yes, he's here.
Finally.
He's here. After a long wait, he is finally on the hot seat. For those of you who don't know who this is one of the first gospel hip-hop rappers, Kenyan, East African. He's an MC. He's been on TV. He's been on radio. He's been in the advertising scene. He has done so much for this music and entertainment scene that he is definitely one to watch. He's also had a little bit of controversy with his name coming in, known as a bad boy, but we're going to get to hear a lot. I mean, we're going to authentically get to hear his story. DNG, have not done your intro proper justice, but I know you're going to give your story in its fullness.
I appreciate it, and it's a blessing and an honor to be on this show, man. We've been talking about this for long, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for none other than DNG.
Let's go.
They call him the Hype Man.
It is time.
The Hype has begun.
So I'm passing it on. Come na inyonga, then we getting it on. Tunajua nikidari tumimi ni long ton. Maini na dondo nikiwa msoto. Nikiwaita badala delivery kalito. So you cheat on the beats, maze mina keep it real. Mina live life kikangu maze feeling nice. Ew. What? Ew. Ew. Nilifanya vitu mingi mbaya na Yesu kanisamehea sasa mimi nimeanza tena You did do it again. Bless you and your friends and your family, all they need you. When they want you alive, if you go, they miss you. Living in a nation, Kenya needs you. To this society, Africa needs you. DNG and I'm one more time, using your voice, changing the world.
Africa to the world. I go by the name East Africa's #1 hype man, Mr. DNG, top shutter. I'm a hype man, I'm a corporate MC, I'm a media personality, radio and TV host, and I am the CEO of 254 Group of Companies. That's 254 Entertainment, 254 TV, 254 Digital, and I'm the founder of Hustle Yako Nation.
Okay, sir. Hey, Davidson.
Chief.
Welcome.
Karibu sana baba.
It's going to 15 years.
Since I started doing music?
No, since I connected with you.
Yeah, about 15 years.
15 years, bruh.
It's a long time, bro.
That's a long time. Yeah, those are kids who are now teenagers.
Yeah, man.
Okay, let me get straight into this because I know guys are watching this and they'll want to know a lot. So the first question that I like asking on CTA, actually first and foremost, where we at, man?
Yo, man, this is Silver Harbor Apartments on Kindaruma Road. It's pristine living. We call it upper echelon. It's on Kindaruma Road. Amazing apartments where it's just taking life to the next level. I think like sometimes we limit the kind of experience we can give ourselves. And personally, I'm a believer in living the best life today, not tomorrow, today. Because I work hard, I've worked hard, and just like anybody else who's a hustler, who's achieved 1, 2, 3 things, I just want to encourage you to live your best life. So come check it out. We can be neighbors. This house is available for rent, for purchase. They're really cool, and as you can see, and maybe perhaps you can do some behind the scenes of this showcase. You know what we're talking about right here, uptown Nairobi.
We're going to do some behind the scenes on your life, man. Let's get in. Okay, so my first question that I usually like asking on this thing is, when did you fall in love with music?
What a question. Yo, I think somehow I've always liked the stage. I've always liked the limelight. Looking back at my early life in high school, I was that guy of Shairi. I was that guy of Kiswahili Club, going for symposiums, getting on stage, debating.
You in Makini?
I was in Makini, yeah.
No, I know that.
Yeah. How?
You were with my wife, man.
Oh my goodness. Was she my junior or my senior?
I think, I'm not sure if you're in the same class or one of the two.
Yo, you want to say her name on camera, bro?
No, homie. No.
So yeah.
Jockey, yeah, she's a musician as well.
So I've always been somebody who liked that limelight. And then fast forward to high school, in my perhaps maybe Form 2 or thereabout, when Issa came out into the scene, it did something special for me. I was in the same class as Habib, Issa's younger brother. So there was a very close connection. We'd go to Habib's house in South Sea Halai and hang out with Issa. We'd meet him in Tao, his shop in Pale 20th Century. He to me drop you on a basi. And for me, when he dropped his music, I realized that, it's something that I can do too. And, just to backtrack a little bit, before then, I was
in fact, let's slow down. We're here. We've got a lot of time.
Yeah.
So let me ask, when were you born? Can I start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, when were you born?
I was born in 1986.
86.
Yeah, how old am I?
30.
Yeah, man. I'm not young, man. But
That is 86.
I'm not young, not old. It's
34.
34.
Okay.
It's a beautiful space where you've done stuff. You still have goals that you've not yet hit and not yet achieved. So it's
And were you the only
place.
born?
I'm the only child for my mom. Though my father had different children as well, before and after me. So I had one stepbro who passed on when I was young in primary school, and I have a stepsister younger than I, and 2 stepbrothers younger than I. Yes, but I'm only child for my mom.
Okay, and so your dad left when you were early.
Yeah, pretty early. In fact, I don't have much recollection of who he is. I didn't know him. I actually met my father in my adulthood.
Oh.
Yeah, like when I'm working, driving, I've done stuff. That's when I met him, like properly. I got a good introduction. I looked at him and I'm like, oh, this is my mzee. Okay. Nice to meet you. You know how you meet a stranger, get to know a client, and have a drink or have a meal. That's what happened for me.
That's crazy, and we're going to get there. We're going. That's a story on its own.
Ready, bro.
Yeah. So, now you start. So it's you and your mom.
Yes, man.
And then now you start.
Best of friends.
Nice.
Bumper to bumper,
You guys, you're very tight with your mom.
Yeah.
Till today.
Till today.
That's amazing to know.
Yeah.
So where do you go to primary?
I started off my education in St. Christopher's Preparatory. Back in the day, St. Christopher's was an 844 school before it switched to GCSE. So I did.
It was just down the road over here.
It's just down the road
from where we are right now.
Yeah, just down the road. It's like I've always been meant to be in Ngong Road, Kilimani area. Yep. Because even Makini was this down here. Yeah. So I started at St. Christopher's up until standard 3. And then when it transitioned into GCSE, my mom was like, hell no. So my mom is a believer that GCSE is an education system for stupid children. Her own words, fam.
Yeah.
So she's like, this is a system for those dandas, those kids who are not intelligent. So she's like, there's no way I can invest for my toi in this education system. So when the school was transitioning entirely, I transferred to Makini Primary School. So 844, I joined there from class 4 up to standard 8. And then, believe it or not, after KCPE...
And did you do well? Were you a bright kiddo?
Well, I believe so. In terms of being number 1 in class, in terms of hitting my good grades, yes.
No, for real, you're a guy who was number 1?
Yeah, severally. I have a lot of accolades academically, being top in different subjects. During my KCPE, I got 555 out of 700.
Yeah. Dude, I got 504.
Yeah, man, out of 7 soak. So I was doing much better than you.
Yeah, you killed me, man. But I got 4% in Swahili.
My struggle has always been the sciences.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at that. Even through my high school, man. Those are some of the subjects that really brought my grades down.
Yeah.
I've always been an artsy guy. History, CRE, English, Kiswahili, languages are my thing.
And where are you living at this time?
Where? At primary school.
No, yeah. Where do you live?
Okay, at primary school. Actually, I was born in Ngumo, so I've lived in Ngumo most of my life until when I went to university, where I moved out of the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason why I've asked that is your SWA is very good. For a guy of Gongong Road, where unaweza connect na wasi wa mtaa vipoa sana.
Yeah, so
not like my SWA over here.
And there's several reasons. First and foremost, in Makini, our motto was Soma kwa Makini. So one of my teachers was Ustad Wala bin Wala. If you've gone through 844, if you've read Kiswahili Mufti, that was my teacher.
Bro.
And Kiswahili was such a serious subject when I was growing up that we used to do Saturday classes for Swahili. We'd be forced to buy the Taifa Leo newspaper. Every Saturday. I think it was like 35 shillings or something of the sort, and bring it to school. And if you don't bring Taifa Leo, you don't enter that class. It was that serious. And then we had to read Taifa Leo aloud. So you know how the rows are in school. So you start with ule wa kwanza, unaanza muktasari wa kwanza, anza kusoma. So you read the next one paragraph, the next person picks the second paragraph, and you keep going like that. When you make mistakes, unapigwa. Tulikuwa na vunjwa mbaya sana, chemsha bongo. I don't know if you knew about that. Chemsha bongo is like they would throw questions, random sparring questions, and pick on you like, hey star, jibu, amethali, kanusha sentensi, whatever. And if you fail, beatings, go in front of the class, kneel down, hands up, apigwa. So Makini was that kind of school, like education and excellence was expected of you.
And let me just say, I love that. I missed out on the Swahili bug. I mean, the Swahili connection. And now it's a thing which has come to bite me later in my later years.
You can do tuition, bro.
Yeah, I'm doing, man, with my kids. But
like, I was looking at a very interesting video that I was watching, and it was about the president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. And he was actually being taken through Swahili tuition.
Yep.
During campaign for 2002.
Yep, that's true.
It was very strange. So you can overcome, I believe. And anyone who is passionate about the language can learn. Just look for a good teacher. So some of my teachers were Jacoyo Sylvester, who was a TV presenter then at KBC Swahili.
What?
Yeah.
Makini was a really good school,
really good school, Mrs. Beans. So I used to go for tuition, just to ensure my grades are up and ensure my command of language is excellent. And Ustad Wala bin Wala made Swahili fun. So he'd take us through some of the storybooks in Kiswahili written in Tanzania, like by the likes of Benar Mutobwa. And we'd go through the motions, and he'd make Swahili exciting. That's how I fell in love with the language. And then for me, Sheng came later. Because there's Kiswahili Sanifu.
Wow. So you've got the Sanifu.
Msamiati ndio. And then there's Sheng. So now Sheng, in Ngumo we did not used to vibe Sheng. Ngumo was a middle class, perhaps estate where it was either Kiswahili ile ya kuokotwa, mwalimu alikuwa anasema ni Kiswahili shagala bagala. But when I went to my high school in Makini Academy, then I interacted with guys from Islando sana. That was when reggae was happening. Sanchez, Tanto Metro, Devonte. It was a big thing. It was a wave, man. That's when we used to go to F2 on Sunday. And for me, it was a new lifestyle. Like, I did not understand that. Going to Gikosh, buying Colombo so you can fit in. It's something strange. And for me, I had to pick up that language because I felt it's cool. Like, how do you speak like this? What does this mean? Then hanging out with South Sea guys, we learned Natiology, Nyanta, you know.
Wait, just tell us about this Natiology thing, by the way.
So Natiology is you add NTA. So Nyanta J, Ukupontoa, Nilikufinti P. So you add NT and a vowel, NT and a. So A, E, I, O, U, those are the vowels, and then you add NT. So it was a way for us to speak without other people understanding what we're talking about. Like I can be hollering about a mama who's seated right here and Nyanta J buntu bra. Dente mu ana wenteza utongente ana ente ama Nyanta J. So the chick is not understanding. But we're sengenyang mad. And if you look at Sheng also began like that, where we would have conversations in front of our folks or our teachers and hawashikanishi.
You know why I love what you've just said? Gengeton is nothing new about that they're doing.
Yeah.
It's been done before.
Yeah.
Sheng, the way they are speaking now and saying things that probably guys don't understand, this is nothing new.
Yeah.
You get?
So I believe like every generation has had an opportunity to come up or conceptualize their own lingo, their own language, their way of speaking, their way of dressing, their own culture. Some have been influenced by different things, like, you know, in the 90s, it was about hip hop. So that's when hip hop was dominating us. That's why we used to wear those baggy clothes. And if you're tucking in your shirt, you're a punk. Any fala, any babi. But if you untuck, when him say unaweza, you're with it. So today, looking at Gengeton, it's that group of young people of today between, say, the ages of 18 to maybe 25. It's a way of life that they're experiencing. They're going through their own motions. So it's their way of expressing themselves, I believe.
Okay, let me ask. At this time, let's touch now into the music. What are you listening to? Who's on your radar?
In primary school?
Yeah, we can start primary into high school.
So primary school, very interestingly, my lower primary exposure of music was country music. Simply because my mom used to listen to that kind of music. So that was what I was exposed to. So up until when I was joining Makini, that's the kind of music that I knew. So it's country music, oldies. Remember what they used to play on KBC? Janela Ngoni Agda, Patrobas, KBC. You know, and that's the kind of music I was exposed to. We had a radio, JVC, and that survived, man. It survived the 90s, survived multi-parties. So Oledi used to have this system, and for her, in the morning, the radio used to wake her up. So you're sleeping and all of a sudden it's booming, man. It's crazy. And that's what I used to listen to. Waking up in the morning, as I'm having breakfast, as I'm being dropped to shule or being dropped to the bus, you know. So it used to be, my mom also sometimes used to chelewa. So when we missed the bus, because since we were together, she had to take me to shule. So the whole journey, I'm listening to KBC, Wanjiro Cargo. Those are the kind of presenters back in the day. And one day I met Wanjiro Cargo because she was a friend of my aunt. And that was the first time I interacted with a radio personality. Somebody who I used to listen to on radio, and I'm like, wow.
And this when you're in primary?
This is when I'm in primary school. And you know, first to answer the question, thereafter when I joined Makini, in fact, people used to make...
So Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, Makoko Ndani?
Yeah, Skeeter Davis, Jim Reeves, kind of music. And I used to listen to... and my mom was a big fan of that kind of music. She had a collection. She used to write music on a notebook in shorthand.
What do you mean, my lyrics?
Yes.
Your mom used to write lyrics on a notebook?
Yeah.
That's great.
Can I tell you an interesting story, Esther? My first exposure with recording came from my mother. So my mother, on this cassette, It was those kind of radio players that used to have a record button next to the play button. So if you put a cassette inside and press the record and play button simultaneously, you could record into that tape.
Yes.
So one day, I don't know how that came to be, but she showed me how it works. That day I didn't sleep. Like, I was recording myself saying, ooh, ooh, ooh. Then I stop. Then I rewind. Then I play. I listen. Then I overwrite. Fast forward, I never knew I'd be a radio presenter.
That's crazy.
I never knew that I'd be recording in a studio.
And this one you're in primary?
I'm in primary school, bro.
Yo.
So I prepared her cassettes. You know, Ennis, she got so vexed because she bought for me my own chrome tape.
Yep.
Do you know what a chrome tape was? A chrome tape was
90
like...
minutes.
Yeah.
Or 60 minutes.
The upper echelon JVC cassette. Like this tape, man.
TDL.
TDK.
TDK.
This tape could survive, man. So this tape was like the gist of the gist. The swag, man. It's like having an iPhone today, bruv. So she gave me my tape to be playing with. So, and then I learned now the technique of that, how that the plastic things work. If you break those plastic things, you can put tissue paper. So I just learned how to do it. And then I also realized that you could also dub over a video.
Yep.
As well, like you could record using your video cassette player. You could record a TV show and things like that.
Nice.
That was my exposure in media. Kitambo.
Okay, that's beginning days. So high school, who are you listening to?
So when I went to Makini, I forgot to tell you that. So the guys used to listen to very different things because now I started interacting with guys from a different backgrounds. So I remember being exposed to the likes of Tevin Campbell. Yeah. Some of my friends would listen to Lost Boys because of their elder brothers. Those are the guys who now would come with a Walkman to school. Me, I wasn't exposed to that kind of life. Like, it was phenomenal, man. It's like I've gone to the States. So guys used to live that kind of life in Nairobi. Like, a guy came with an LB cassette. Guys are talking about, the Tevin Campbells of the day. Then, fast forward, and they used to make fun of me because I didn't know this music. Like, my name Shamba. You don't know this kind of songs. What do you listen to? So you know how kids are. Impression on other kids. So then I went home. I took it as a challenge to educate myself in music. So when I Fika digs, some of the channels at the time were things like MCM. Do you remember MCM?
I can't even remember that one.
MCM was a channel, man, and it used to play music 24/7. Like before Channel O, before MTV, there was MCM.
Wow.
MCM Africa, and it used to play all sorts of music. Then, very interestingly, on KTN there was Rapping.
Yeah.
Jimmy Garth. Then Lorna, I think the chick was called Lorna, I can't remember. But Jimmy Garth, I remember, he used to host the show. So there was Rapping on I think Monday. Tuesday there was Kas. Wednesday there was Rastrat, then Jamadelic on Thursday, and then Rhythmics on Friday.
Hey yo, hip hop heads, welcome to paradise. The only place for the hip hop top dogs.
Where my dogs at? Walk with me now. Wow, 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 yippee-yo, yippee-yay.
And cats. Where the party don't stop till we blow out the spot. Is you down to go pound for pound? We'll step up to the mix and get your freak on. And you'll bounce on only on Rappin' Mondays 6 p.m. on KTN.
Danger! Danger! Get on the floor!
So what I used to do, I used to listen to this music every day between when I get home. So I think it used to run between 5 and 6 p.m. And then I cram the name of the artist, the name of the song, the name of the album, the year the song was released, and the record label.
Yo.
So that now when I go to school, I can impress guys. Like, I know this song is by SWV, or this song is by Jay-Z. It's a Def Jam recording. It was released, say, in 1995.
That's crazy.
It's a collaboration featuring, like those things of featuring.
Yeah.
So I used to cram that. And that's how I understood my music. So I started exposing myself proactively so as to fit in with
it was a peer pressure thing. So I started learning hip hop. I started learning Lingala. I started learning reggae. So I started learning roots. I started learning R&B and what we used to call jams. Before pop, there was jams.
that's how the show is called Jamadelic. So it's those 90s jams. You know, so that kind of music, man, it started resonating with me, and I'm like, this is some really cool stuff. And that's how I got introduced to that game.
So when you started wide. You didn't like limit yourself to hip hop, or just you went even to Lingala.
Lingala, yeah. So I used to consume what I find. So KTN at that time was like the it station.
Yes.
You know, you had to buy an Ellis aerial. You remember that aerial that used to have?
In order for you to catch it.
Yeah, but apart that, it was so stressful. Like I told my mom, but now we have to buy an aerial because me I was operating on KBC. So now because I needed to fit in, I'm choching my lady peer pressure as well. Like, Mom, let's go buy an aerial for KTN. Like to buy an aerial was like buying DSTV today, fam. Like it was. Yeah.
It was huge.
It was a big deal to have a KTN aerial, man. So there was this guy in Kenyatta Market called Mwangi Wadhitima. That was the guy who had aerial. So once that guy puts for an aerial and then points. And then it's in color. You know.
You know, it's difficult for people to understand that the only place you could get content
was TV.
Was not just TV, KBC.
Yeah, KBC was now the primary. That's where it began.
That's where the whole country was watching content. So the introduction of KTN was such a huge thing because you had a different option to get video content.
And then KTN came
with... you could use video recorders and things like that, but broadcasted.
And then KTN came with this whole story of like new programming.
Yes.
Fresh news. Fayaz Kurashi.
Hey, bro. Fresh shows.
Yeah. Club Kiboko, Baba Cartoons. You know, now we're moving from Rambo and Minnie Mouse to Club Kiboko, Ewoks, Flintstones.
Danger Mouse, I remember that time used to come on Piggy.
Danger Mouse. What a childhood banner. Today, even some of the cartoons my toy watches, I don't understand. It's so serious, like a movie, man. The script, nini, effects.
Okay, let me ask you now a big one. Kenyan music, when does that check into your life?
So Kenyan music for me started checking in about 1998.
And you're still in high school?
98, I was in primary school because I finished.
98, you're in primary?
Yeah, I finished my I finished my standard 8 KCPE in 1999. So 98 thereabout was when Darling P checked into the game. Yes, yo, Darling P, kwenye mic, is the area check VO. I can't remember the lyrics vizuri, but like
wakati tunasema zinu wa noma, si kusema tuko naoma. Mi siwezi kutuangana ati nikusuti. Nikusomoa lungu na kutandika kiso mpaka unatoa nundu. We got stuff that is 100 times nicer than the best is. Yo, even Tupac Mazakwani za Kilonyi including Osama bin wa Mandeni knows this. Atujivanyi? Mena AKA Karomai. Klasi ile chana ingine noma kutoka kule ghetto. Ukitaka soma levo na viocha live group analeta nyogo organize Mr. Check it out. Utana na muhindi kutoka bara hindi na gunia rama hindi ngamwambia nive hindi akasongosa macho na kuonesa mimbi kichana wewe nani na unataka nini ebeste wewe nani unagagacha masi ngamwambia oya chip mimi driver wa umoja gole kayole pamoja na gomorox magari toti ategechwa kama lenge mutomo ndio kubwa kama bakulia chera ngamwambia chege mani mimi nigatana aliya bogatana na wesa gogochana hivyo wacha toganana ati mimi nigatana aliya bogatana na wesa gogochana with the boom babyo yes yo nali bisek the mic just to me in your area seki beyonda kasala kasi easy yo bo in your one usukani in your area with the boom babyo yes yo nali bisek the mic just to me in your area seki beyonda kasala kasi easy yo bo in your one usukani.
That was the first time I listened to Kenyan music and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a big deal. And that thing was like through one of these stations, maybe Capitol. I can't really remember. And guys had recorded that song on cassettes so that we used to now listen to them in the cars and stuff like that. Those are the days where the radio cassette player in the car ilikuwa ni ile iko na tunobi hivi inakuwa ndani mada nazusha. What do you mean remove? Like it's a KC yani it tokas it cut yani. My mom is vexed, man. I can't now listen to my music. What is this music? And then Nameless Chomokad.
So Darling P was your intro into this Kenyan music industry.
There was music of Darling P. Then there was a Nameless, Mega Rider. There was Heartstone, Giddy Up. Yo, you know, there was that. Then there was K Shaka. That's the kind of music like that I was introduced to from a Kenyan perspective. I never used to listen to the rest, Kina Kabaka. That one, that is not my day. For me, that area of Darling P, that's where it
when
began.
you checked in, to Josiah.
And then now, in terms of from an entertainment perspective, when I got into Form 1 and Form 2, I used to now listen to music like the hip hop tracks, the DMXs or Fighters Anthem, and then I write them down, and then I memorize these lyrics, and then during the breaks, break time, lunch time, I'm freestyling those jams for my peers. And then we used to have those competitions. So like I'd cram a DMX track, somebody else picks like a Luda track, etc. And then now we're showing off. And then now when Issa popped, it switched that from international music to Kenyan music. And then there was a lot happening in the game at the time. There was Mudhoni Buika with Nation FM. And I think maybe she started at Kiss. So there was that whole
No, it was a Kiss or Capital.
I can't remember.
One of the ones.
So that's why even Issa says Nikama Kiss Bila Mudhoni Buika. So at some point she transitioned, I think, from Kiss to Nation. So she used to have this amazing show for Kenyan music, and that's when like the game was happening so much. There was Klepto. I remember Klepto popped when we were in high school. So you go for Fladis, Akatona, and they're performing like Kleptomaniacs on stage from Nairobi school in uniform.
Yo, I get it.
Big gang shows. Then Coca-Cola Pop Stars happened, and Sema was the biggest thing. That's Sanaipe Tande, Pam, and Kev.
Yeah.
And I remember them doing a tour with the Homeboys, and they came to Makini.
Yo.
And at the time when they were coming to Makini, we had recorded our first jam. Me and a guy called DP, David Warwenge, who's RK's younger brother.
What?
Yeah. So we're curtain raising for Longombas. We're curtain raising for Sema. In school, Big Pin.
Yeah, okay. There's something you've said that you've run, but I love it. So, when now did you start writing your own lyrics? Because you've talked about recording.
Yeah.
For me, being in the studio is always a first huge experience, but I like understanding the process to what
of how
led
it
you.
began.
Yeah.
So when Issa happened, I think for me that was like Form 2, 2001 thereabout. It encouraged me to start writing as well, because
And you're in the same class with Issa's
younger brother Habib.
Yeah.
So and then
Were you pals?
Yeah, we were very good friends. So interestingly, Habib had a group with a guy called Manga called Buccaneers. So Manga was in the next class. So we're in the same year, but another class.
I get.
Yeah.
So
then,
you and Habib are in stream A, Manga is in B.
But in the same
year.
Same year.
Yeah.
So them they have recorded their first jam, the one that featured Issa, and the song is playing. They're on The Warehouse. Do you remember The Warehouse on NTV?
Yep.
So they've started their career. So us guys were like, hey, why don't you also do our thing? So me, I start writing. I shikana with my boy DP. DP tells me his bro has a studio. Who is his bro? RK Mwana Buja. So RK Mwana Buja is a guy we've had being shouted out on a track by Kina the Vultures, manze, Mustafa, Kamel Mustafa, Nasty Thomas.
Hey, bro, you've taken me back.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, oh my God, let's write a song. So we create a crew, and this crew is called Wanati.
Yeah.
We call ourselves Wanati, and then I call myself DJ Nasty, because I wanted to be a DJ, bro. Before I started doing music, I wanted to be a DJ.
Yep.
So my mother had this LP thing, and I used to try scratch on it, but I don't know how to scratch. It's like not working out. So I gave up on my first dream of being a DJ. But I retained my name, DJ Nasty. So we used to write jams and then go record. So when we went to RK studio, funny enough, RK told us that we can't rap. You know, it's like your small bro tells you, Bana, you want to be an artist. So you're like, this to Bana. Okay, so go record. We in studio, we are messing up bass and we know nothing about rhymes and you know, the rhyme mastering Guyana with the beat, the flow, the content. We have no idea. It's our first trial. So it's chapa. So one of the producers who was there, I think I don't remember his name, maybe Willie or something. He's like, yo, tawarekodia na tawage CD. So he gave us, he recorded quickly, and just burnt it.
Cares, like you guys.
Yeah,
just
chuck, man, I can't do this. I can't produce you guys. So this guy, he was like, you know, the intern, the sound engineer in every studio.
Yeah.
So that guy produced our jam. He made for us a beat. He put it on a beat, and I don't even think he mastered it. Yeah. He just gave us the song. So that became our first song. I can't even remember what that song was called, like Semanare, kitu kama hiyo.
So now when this is the song now that you're performing.
So this is the song we're performing now. And we have no experience in performing, but to our peers, it's on. Wow.
You've recorded, you've been in a studio.
Even the name DNG is not in the picture yet.
Yeah. What year is this?
This is like Form 2, Form 3.
So what year?
So Form 2 is 2001.
Okay.
Form 3 is 2002. So now we are performing. So we are doing shows in like Izi Zamashule, curtain raising. We're doing shows during holidays at Goethe Institute. So Goethe Institute.
Yeah.
So I call it Goethe. Oh my God. German. So this institute used to have showcase for art. I think this German institute still promotes art till today.
Yep.
And so during holidays we'd go and showcase manze. You know, like today you see a lot of events for upcoming artists. People do not understand that is the beginning. I've listened to Calligraph tell his story about doing freestyles with Kinabuda Blaze. Your big shout out to those OGs, man, doing big stuff. Like, it's a big deal to get a chance to showcase your art when you're a nobody. Like, no one has heard your song. Only you, your kuzos, your pals in Shule, who have had access to a Discman, and perhaps that guy who produced the track. So it's about promotion, and those were my first motions. Then baadaye
it's about exposure.
Man, kuja ujipromote. And fast forward into my Form 4 studies, I get saved.
Okay. Hey bro, there's a lot that's happened here, and I love it. So at this time, are you the bad boy, DNG? Yes. Are you causing drama with your lady at home?
Yo, I think like I've always been experiential. Today I run an experiential agency, but back in the day I've always been those guys of like trying out new stuff, man. Like Buddha twende hapa tufanye hivi tucheki tuvute sigara. You know, I've always been that kind of young guy. So for me, high school, actually I drank my first beer in standard 7, my first beer, Castle Lager, at a party. Like standard 7, I was already going for bashes, man. Okay. So Makini had a very interesting culture of like guys used to throw parties. And you know, Makini had the rich kids and the poor kids. Kids were being called out during parade to go digs because they haven't leopard. John Okello. You know? So yeah, man. So like rich people's kids, I'm talking about generals, police commissioners, judges. I've studied with those kind of people. And PSs, I've studied also with those other guys for
Nikobaya.
Guys are being brought for takeout, Chinese, for lunch by their parents. And another guy is on githeri. Another guy kwanza hada cricket. Unajua cricket, unafungwa lunchbox kuna cricket muda.
What cricket?
Cricket zile za black man zile kwa lunchbox. Yani poverty. Sawa. And bro, today we're laughing, but at that time it was serious. Unachongolewa wiki mzima. Hey, ukona cricket kwa lunchbox. Hebu nione. Watu hii wanacheka mpaka wanalala chini kwa class. You know, like so even like this thing of kuchongwana nini venye mimi uingilia wase kwa stage nini. Ni kitu ilianza kitambo juu. Juu ilibidi. And like for me, to derail a little bit, I was a very small guy in Primo. So like sikuwa wale wase sijui first body kwa class nini wale wase wa bigi hapana. So when guys used to pick on me, I realized siwezi vunja nana umsi hata nivunja. But hapa
the gift of the gap.
The gift of the gap. Da kunyorosha ni kuundress ni kuambie venye madako budako ni wanono wamekawa hivi kwenu kwa nyumba asubuhi. Yani almulika you badly. I was one of those very talented kids. Nice. And that's also something I learned as a self-defense mechanism.
Oh, nice.
how to defend myself. I was like, okay, can't fight these guys, man. We had some really cool guys bana kwa vita walikuwa napigana hata makarate nini street fighter unajua
Hadoukens.
So I'm like sasa wakiniingilia nitafanyaje, lazima ni watu wanishe mapema kabla wafikire kunibiti. So yani I guess kama kunivunja, but venye nimemchongoa inamuembarrass paka wasengine wanamuingilia anasema wewe
he don't even want to beat you because he look
like, bad you know. So very interesting. So I don't know what you were talking about.
Okay, no, it's cool. That's how we do on this show. So now let me go back now to this question. So you talk now about getting saved. This is a huge turning point in your life.
So I've been this.
First of all, you understand why the backstory is so important.
Yeah. So I get you, Ace, and you know, for me, I think I was always that guy of experimenting. So I had my first drink in standard 7. Then you know you go for functions and ankia zacha dakakan, you pick it. And then standard 8, I drank my first sip of vodka during our end of year party. It was like an end of year party for standard 8s and standard 7s. You know, like after KCPE, when you're leaving, pale wasame smuggle can drink pale. Kulikuwa wale wase more exposed than others. Then from 1, that is when I started doing the sachets, Safari Ken, Tiger Vodka, Popov, you know, tunapiga. And then we didn't even know like which drink is good for you, our limits. So unakunywa, unableki, unatapika. So high school was about that, experimenting. And then, you know, starting going out. I went to the club for the first time when I was in Form 1. I went for a gig, Beats of the Season. Do you remember Beats of the Season? Awilo Longomba was performing. And the MC was Maina Kageni. Very interesting, man. Fast forward, we're working together at Kiss 100.
Yes.
And
Radio Africa
group. And for me, like that life was on because some of my friends, bigger brothers, were guys of the Hanye. We used to call it the Hanye, Yama the Hare. So Hanye was dope. Artists were coming to do concerts. Big artists like Coolio, Lost Boys, TKZ Family. Like how can you miss such gigs? So me, I tell my lady I'm going for a sleepover at my boys' digs. You get me in Beats of the Season, Unga Grounds. I'm underage, but I've braved the bouncer. I'm in. Fast forward into like Form 2, Form 3. You know, I'm skiving the digs on a weekday. I'm jumping the fence, bruv. My mom has gone to Swatch and I've looked at the fence. And then Gumo Estate, the estates, we never had that electric fence. Yeah. The fence had like broken bottles, you know, of soda. So you have a crest, then they look like this, like glasses. So mimi nimeenda nimeziflatten, nimechukua mbao nimezipiga ndio nikipanda fence
uko sawa
isinikate mikono. So I realized how to cut a key. A guy showed me cut the key. Hauna key? Mimi niko na key. So tunachochana kwa esto. So a guy tells me how do you cut the key? Weka key kwa sabuni. Form hiyo key, peleka kwa msee wa fundi atatengeneza hii blueprint. So I cut the key. So I had a key to my mom's house like a boss, like to my digs.
Yeah.
And then a guy told me, okay, you padlock come in and make kelele. Paka Vaseline. Paka Vaseline kwa padlock ndio isifanye keng. Inatoa hiyo rust nini. Unaifungua alafu unafinya juu unaifungua then unairelease. So mimi nilikuwa natoka kwa madangu kama ni kwangu na naenda club narudi before amke. Rock night. Wednesday, kama ni Sunday naenda Super Soul, you know, such things. So kanili kuwa.
So is your boys coming for you?
My boys, yes. So my neighbors had elder brothers. So I've always been those guys of hanging out with the older people.
Oh, okay. I get it.
So the older boys in the hood liked me, son. I was just this daring kid. And then I just had the way I am, honest, real, fresh. It's just the way I've always been. Like, so I never had a big brother growing up, so I'd gravitate to the older boys. Also because perhaps I never had my father in my life. Yeah. I'd gravitate to the older father figures naturally. Yes. So they teach me all this crazy.
The older males.
Yeah, the older males. So they teach me all this crazy stuff. They're like, us guys are going out. Nini, do you want to come? So they come. They piga honi flika. I know that's a signal. Naangalia mother amelala kwa kiti ama ameenda kudoze, ninachomoka chini ya maji. And she never knew until I told her later in life. I was never busted.
What?
So I'd go to school, have a hangi. I mean, from 3. I'd go to detention with a hangi. Like we're partying at ABC Place. There was a place called ABC Place, Kengeles. DJ John Palace Chezai, Homeboys. Homeboys were like the biggest thing growing up, man. Big shout out to HB. And these guys, when they were throwing parties, it was a big deal, manze. And I remember going to ABC Place, and I didn't have even cash to buy pints. So you know how guys go to the dance floor, you leave the pints on the table. I'm pitting with guys drinks, boss.
You're that guy.
I'm pitting like, you know, so ukiona msee kwa club amekuibia bia usijam. It's part of the emotions, man. Zelewa yani. So I never had float to buy the drinks. Like I could buy my first keg. Then, you know, like in Kani, keg was at 95 shillings. So we'd buy a keg, juu ni kubwa, alafu ni cheap na ita last. Then you do like an ambulance. Do you remember ambulance?
Yeah.
Ambulance ilikuwa Tabasco sauce.
Yes.
Na sajui nini. Mbaya. Kipiga ambulance mzee. Alafu sasa upige sasa keg. Una maintain your highness at least. Then unapita na drinks za wase manze. Mse ameacha pale kadabo.
Were you ever busted?
Never. Like I was smooth, man. I've always been smooth. Napita nazo tu. Hapo najua kupima, napima tu wale wasi. Kwanza madem hizi masambuka nini za blue nini. Hizo the best. Hapo dem unajua kipata drink yake imechukuliwa, nadhani tu waiter amepita nayo na anaitisha ingine anabaiwa. Mimi sina na konywa. Then you know another boy mine called More used to drive. So I was in like big shout out More, man. More is my boy till today. Like him used to drive his old lady's car bana. Like when high school and guys are driving. Even my boy DP used to drive. My boy Hussein Anjarwala used to drive. Guys used to drive. Edu used to drive. It's not a big deal. Like people either were bought for cars by their folks or
they took the folks' car.
Yeah, or Skype the car, whatever. There was a whip to take you to and from. Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, let's get into
then
this.
Then I got saved.
Yeah, like how do you go from that into saved?
For me, what happened is I had a dream.
And I really like the fact that guys have understood the wrongness that you were involved
in.
Yeah,
it was just bad. And then I was I'm not mentioned, even before salvation. Fam, I had 3 suspensions, 3 warning letters. By the time I was doing my Form 4, I was on probation. And ile makosa ya last, utafanya KCSE kwingine.
Wow.
I was Amrui for stink bombs in Darasa. I was a bad game parade, I'm disrupting. Chem lab is boring, angusha this thing.
Let me ask
we have stolen the detention list. There's no detention this week, man. What are you saying? Atunambia wapi itakubit. Nini unavunja desk yake. Unajua kitambo msee alikuwa anafunga desk na padlock.
Yeah.
Unapiga hiyo desk inafunguka hivi. Unachukua hiyo detention list na unamwaga makojo hapo. Tulikuwa tunachukua makojo kwa bucket, tunamwaga kwa desk za mapiri wale watiaji. Yani wewe unatuseti nini? Unajua kulikuwa ile story ya umbenye snitching, like you know how this guy of yours Edgar is snitching on niggas.
Why call him my guy? What's your guy?
You're not my guy. That guy is snitching on niggas, man. Now here in the streets. On our room says you before lead. Hizo maujinga mambo yenyewe tulikuwa na wavamia mbaya sana time yetu. Unaelewa? Kama angekuwa ejet tungekuwa tumempiga. Ya ukweli ni venye sasa siku hizi tuko wase change, unajua sini wase corporate, unaona tuko na image kitambo, like tumefanyia mapiri vitu mbaya sana. Unararua book yake, unaandika, unapiga hapo coloring. Unaelewa?
Yeah, I get it.
Nilikuwa msemzi sana. So how I got saved, I had a dream, bro, that I was gonna die.
And no one has come. No, there's no. But were guys coming to preach to you guys in school? See you, nini?
Yeah, those things were there. My background was church, Nairobi Baptist Church.
Oh, in Bapo at this time.
Yeah.
So your mom every Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Shingo Pande, you know.
By force to end it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'd escape that church. I go to NPC. NPC was cool because we used to chomoka church and then go to another place to play pool and kunywa drink Sunday afternoon. Church, bro, like church haibambi.
Yeah.
Unaona? Tunaenda tunashoot pool na hiyo offering. Live mzee. Unaona?
I get.
So
So you have a dream. What's the dream about?
So I dreamed that I was gonna die in this dream. So I woke up, man, and it's one of those
You're in Form 4 now.
This Form 4, like mid in between, like either after mocks or before mocks. Can't really remember. And I told myself, like, if I die, where am I gonna go, man? Nimekuwa nikiishi bad life, man. Simtaenda to hell. And of course, I knew about salvation. I knew about how
your mom is saved.
Yeah, my mom was at this time alikuwa ameokoka. I know about how to ask the Lord into your life and you know the salvation prayer. I knew all that. I just wasn't interested. Any Bambi, you know, like ninataka. But that dream for me was like a game changer. So I prayed for myself in my room. I asked God to come into my life, and I got saved. I was not laid on hands, nini intercessor, nini. Mimi msetu najua tu ni aje. God, I repent of my sins. Forgive me for my sins. Come into my life. So now I start living. I changed life. And I remember my first test. After that, we went to for a school trip. Guys are testing, manze. Yeah. Now I'm telling you.
So did you tell your boys?
Yeah, I told my boys, but I don't want to do this thing of pints anymore, nini. Because at that time, let me tell you, my understanding of religion was so narrow-minded. I felt like to be a Christian is to not be involved in all the social vices. It's a do not. So do not drink.
Do not smoke weed.
Do not club.
Weed,
yeah, do not club. Do not halal shories. Do not whatever. All these social. Even do not listen to secular music. There was a time it was an issue. Like you're saved, but you're listening to Ja Rule. How you saved? And it was that thing of you had to prove your salvation to others. So your salvation and your relationship with God was not a relationship. It was more of a show of how great I am. But you know, not to move too fast into the story, but later I came to realize that was a fallacy. That salvation is a relationship between you and your maker. And salvation is about grace. And it's not by your own acts. It is by the power of the Spirit that is inside you. So even if you're saying that I'm going to be a better person, it is not out of your own volition and doing. It's by the grace of God that you are saved. So those things, I understood them later in my Christian journey, but I really battled with them, such that I'd ask people like, what's the difference between, and that began my story, my journey of self-discovery, where I started to question my faith and even question my pastors. Like I'd go to them.
Why is this drinking wrong?
Yeah. Why can't I drink? Like why? Tell me why. Why can't I listen to Ja Rule? I've listened to Ja Rule all my life. I've listened to DMX growing up. You guys have heard all his tapes from It's Dark and Hell is Hot, Flesh on My Flesh, Blood on My Blood. It's dark.
How it's going down.
Yeah. And then there was X, like name it, bro. Like I was about that life. So like now you're telling me it's wrong to listen to this music. I remember one day Ja Rule came to perform in Kenya, and I went for that concert. And I remember guys snitching on me at DNG was there. I remember Kina Lilian Muli, Nini. At that time, Lilian Muli, I think used to work for Standard. She was there. And that's how my story chomoka that DNG was in Kani drinking pombe. But like, yo, man, like what's wrong with me having a drink? That does it mean that I don't love God? Or does it mean that I'm evil? At what point? Yeah, like people are listening to secular music on Capital FM, but they can't go to Kani to listen to Ja Rule. Isn't that foolishness?
Yeah.
Of the highest order. And those are the things I'd question. Paka I reached a point I was like, yo, I don't want to live my life for others, but now let me live my life. And if you feel like mimi ndo naangusha hii injili, I mean nijitoe.
Okay, let's go. We'll get to this conversation, and I love it. So what happens? You have this dream, you get saved. You go for this party, you have your first testing of this school trip. That's when you're like, hey, by the it's been
there's a 9 minutes on. I'm like trying to be about something different. And you know, I managed to just take the kind of path that I wanted. And then people were saying umeokoka juu exam, unaogopa KCSE, vitu kama hizo, but that was not my reason. So I started now trying to find a different way to spend my time. So during the holidays, now I'd go to church.
Now.
Yeah, Nairobi Baptist. And that's how I ended up participating in my first competition as a rapper. because there was a competition that was organized by Innovator. And
Team
Rimbui, yeah, and I came second in that competition. I was actually beaten by a chick. There was this chick, like a really cool femme MC. Yeah, and then the competition was in two parts. There was a freestyle, and then there's a part where they asked you to rap about something in the Bible. So they asked me to rap about the Bible, and I didn't know the Bible. I didn't know anything. Even I don't think like I've ever read the Bible deep, apart from CRE. You know, so I choked. I couldn't rap about the Bible, so I lost that competition. I came second place, but my rap was dope. The initial rap was dope. So I lost because guys were winning a record deal, you know, to record a song. Funny enough, that chick who won that competition never recorded a song.
Yeah, because I'm even like, who is that chick? I don't even,
nobody knows, and it ended. Funny enough, fast forward from that year to December after KCPE, I went to Innovator.
Yes.
To record my first song.
Okay, so I love this. We're getting now into the gospel musician that is DNG.
Yeah.
So you start going to spend time in Bapo.
Yeah.
You do this competition, you become second.
And even how I heard about it is that I was in a Kenya bus, man. Those are the days of Kenya bus. I'm sitting at the back, listening to some music, and a guy is like, yo, I think I've seen you in church, Steve Mitaro. And it's like, okay, which church, man? Because I used to go to different churches. Like, I'd go to NPC when it's popping. My boys invite me huko. Sometimes I go to Bapo with the lady. Sometimes I don't go to church. And he's like, Nairobi Baptist. I'm like, okay, that's cool, man. So he's like, I'm going to church. There's something really cool happening for music, and there's a competition. Would you like to come? So this guy gives me a flyer. You know, like Bapo guys were very good at evangelism.
Yeah.
So this guy gives me a flyer. I'm like, there's something happening in church. I'm like, yeah, even I don't know where I was going. But I'm like, okay, let me PT. So I PT'd with this guy. Tells me, yeah, this is the competition, Nini. So that's how I got involved in Nairobi Baptist Church and that competition.
What?
Through Steve Mitaro. So big up my brother. And this is the same guy who introduced me to Innovator later.
Yeah.
He's the same guy who introduced
your hype
me.
man, stroke manager, stroke everything.
Yeah. The same guy introduced me to DJ Moores.
Yes.
And then thereafter I joined K Crew as one of the artists.
Okay, we move slowly. Hey, because this are very, and the reason why I'm just going slow here, because people don't understand how pioneering you are in this stage, especially for gospel hip hop.
Yeah, there was nothing like that. In fact, before, when I was coming into the game as a gospel artist, the kind of big names in gospel in our generation are the likes of Rafton and Henry Mtuku.
Holy Dave, nothing.
Even I didn't know him. Him, I think he came much later.
Yeah.
There are guys like called the Votaries,
yes,
But in terms of rap and hip hop, when I was checking into the game, it was myself. And there's some guys called the Eagles. We broke out at about the same time. And then I met Gospel Fathers. So Gospel Fathers had been in the game a bit earlier than me. And so apart from us three, Eagles, DNG, and Gospel Fathers,
nothing.
There's no hip hop. So for me, when I was doing Samehewa, rap.
Was that the first song now you did?
As a gospel artist, yes.
Okay, let's talk then about this Samehewa.